It's time to once again go over the best PlayStation 4 game deals available right now. In this video, we're going to do something a little bit differently. Usually, we separate these videos with physical deals and digital deals respectively, as in we put physical deals in one video, digital in the other. But in this video, we're actually going to be covering 5 physical deals as well as 5 deals that are available as PSN's Golden Week sale. We already did a video going over 10 great deals as a part of the Golden Week sale. These 5 games are different. So if you want some other great deals as a part of that sale, be sure to check that video out. And without further ado, let's get right into this, and we'll start off by going over the digital deals available as a part of the Golden Week sale. First up, we have DMC Devil May Cry Definitive Edition for $13.99. DMC Devil May Cry is a very interesting game. Devil May Cry is one of the beloved franchises in all of gaming, but DMC Devil May Cry is a little bit different. It's developed by a studio known as Ninja Theory. They've done a lot of great games, but most notably about DMC Devil May Cry is that design-wise, it's very different than previous DMC games. Most notably, Dante looks a lot different, and that turned a lot of gamers off. As someone that was a big fan of the older DMC games, it did put me off at first, but then I actually played the game, and the game itself is really good. It's got some great combat, the story's okay, and now that the title's down to just $13.99, it's a great pickup. Yes, I want to see that original design Dante back, but if you go into DMC Devil May Cry expecting an original game, you'll get that and you'll enjoy it. Next up, we have Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus for $29.99. JRPGs have been pretty good this generation. The PlayStation 4 has brought with it some excellent JRPGs. Some have gone a little bit under the radar, and Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus is definitely one of those. With this game, many will draw comparisons to a franchise such as Persona, but don't get it twisted. I wouldn't say Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus is as good as, say, Persona 5. That's not saying anything negative about the game. Persona 5 is just one of the best, if not the best JRPG of all time, and Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus isn't quite at that caliber, but it is a very competent JRPG in its own right. It's got a pretty good story, some likable characters, solid gameplay. It's just a well-made JRPG, and if you're a fan of the genre, you're gonna have a good time with it. Yes, $29.99 is expensive, but this is a game that's really retained its value, and this is one of the better prices we've seen for the game. Next up, we've got Strider for $2.99. Strider is a long storied franchise going back decades, but this version is a reboot with modern visuals. It was just a downloadable title, so don't expect anything crazy like AAA production values, but it's a very fun game in its own right, and at this price of $2.99, it's a bargain. Whether you've played Strider in the past or you just want a quality 2D action game, it's gonna be perfect for both of those parties. Next up, we have Yakuza Kiwami. I've recommended Yakuza Kiwami quite a few times, and honestly, if you are just getting into the Yakuza franchise, I probably wouldn't start with Yakuza Kiwami. Give Yakuza 0 a look if you're just getting into the series, but if you already played Yakuza 0 and you want to see where the story goes, Yakuza Kiwami is a great title to check out, as it's a full-on remake of the very first Yakuza title. You've got some refined mechanics, updated visuals, but the essence of the original game is there. $18 is still a little bit pricey, but that's probably just me being cheap. This game already released at a budget price of $30, so I have to say $18 is more than worth it. Definitely give it a look if you've played Yakuza 0 and enjoyed that. And the final deal we'll be covering as a part of the Golden Week sale is Tales of Zestiria for $14.99. Personally speaking, I'm a big fan of the Tales of franchise, but I can acknowledge the franchise's shortcomings. A lot of the games don't really transcend from being good games into that excellent tier JRPG, and I would say that Tales of Zestiria fits that bill. It's got some likable characters, the Tales of gameplay that you know and love is there. However, in Tales of Zestiria, it really does falter from some story elements. They just make some really weird decisions throughout the course of the game. I don't want to give away spoilers, but there's one specific event in the game that really turned off a lot of gamers, so that's unfortunate. However, as a whole, the game is still a pretty good JRPG, and for $14.99, I would recommend it for fans. So now let's move on to the physical deals, and since we just talked about Tales of Zestiria, let's talk about the other Tales of game released this generation. Tales of Berseria is down to $20 at Amazon. Now, if you had to ask me what's the better game between Zestiria and Berseria, me and along with I think every Tales of fan will agree that Tales of Berseria is the better game. I just mentioned how Tales of games often don't transcend from being a good JRPG into an excellent JRPG. Well, I would personally say that Tales of Berseria is an excellent JRPG. It's got all of the mechanics and fundamentals that you love about Tales of, but it rounds that out by having an excellent story and one of the most engaging main characters in all of the franchise. But the main character's motivations is very easy to cling on to. It's a really well-told revenge story, and now that Tales of Berseria is down to just $20 at Amazon, I would highly recommend it. This is one where I would say that Tales of Berseria is also a very accessible gateway JRPG, where if you haven't played JRPGs in the past, this is a good one to start out with because anybody can really understand and cling on to a good revenge story. Speaking of accessible JRPGs, we've also got Ninokuni 2 Revenant Kingdom for $44.99. Yes, this is quite expensive for Ninokuni 2, but considering this game just released a little over a month ago, saving 25% on one of 2018's best games thus far is definitely a good buy. Ninokuni 2 Revenant Kingdom builds off all of the successes of the first Ninokuni. Don't worry if you didn't play that game. Revenant Kingdom is its own unique story, but it has all the charming elements that you loved about the first game. The great art style, solid gameplay, the world is awesome. This is another JRPG that I would say is a very good gateway JRPG, so if you've never played one in the past, this is a great one to start out with. Yes, it's a little bit expensive at $44.99 over at Newegg, but it's very much worth it. Next up, we've got Far Cry 5 for $44.99. I do have to mention that on Newegg, this game is $44.99 after a promo code. However, at Best Buy, the game is down to $49.99, but as you guys probably know, with the Gamers Club Unlocked subscription, you save an additional 20%, so if you are a GCU subscriber, you can get Far Cry 5 for $40 at Best Buy. So depending on whether or not you have a GCU subscription, that depends which retailer you're going to pick this game up from, but just wanted to mention that so you guys have all the options available to you. It's a very good open world adventure, very similar to the other Far Cry games. It doesn't revolutionize much from the other titles, but mechanically it's very good. Visually, it's excellent. There is some longevity to the game as well, but as I've mentioned in the past, Ubisoft games do get rather cheap pretty quickly. I mean, you look at Assassin's Creed Origins in that game, even when it was a very well-received game, it became cheap very quickly. Far Cry 5 is a game you'll be able to find for $30, so if you aren't super eager to play the game, maybe waiting would be a better option. That's not to say that this is a bad deal, because for $44.99 or $40 with GCU at Best Buy, it is a great deal for a very recent release. Tekken 7 for $19.99 or $15.99 with GCU. Now, fighting games have had a really solid generation as well. We've gotten a lot of great fighting games from Injustice 2, Dragon Ball FighterZ, and one sleeper hit, in my opinion, was Tekken 7. Tekken is a long-storied fighting game franchise going back to the original PlayStation days, and Tekken 7 was a really solid entry. Especially for someone like me, where fighting games isn't my primary forte, I found the game very accessible as well. They had a really solid single-player mode in there, and the multiplayer was fun as well. Very quick battle, so you can get in and get out really quickly. And yes, I could understand that if you're not super into fighting games, that $59.99 could be an expensive price to drop on a fighting game, but now that it's down to just $16 with a GCU subscription, I would highly recommend it. And finally, an absolutely tremendous deal is Monster Hunter World, which is down to $45 or $36 for GCU subscribers. Many would consider Monster Hunter World their game of the year of 2018 thus far. That's hard to say with games like God of War out. I'm not going to get into that debate right now. But Monster Hunter World is definitely in the running as one of, if not the best game of 2018 thus far, and it absolutely warrants that. This is a game that has so much depth to it, so much content, so many things to do, and you can spend hundreds of hours in the game. Not to mention that Capcom is very invested into the game, and they are constantly updating it and adding more content and free of charge on top of that. We just had a pretty substantial update adding more content, and expect more of that in the coming months. You have to check out Monster Hunter World, even if you've never checked out the franchise before. Many were in that boat prior to World's launch, and you can see it's become one of the most popular games in all of gaming. So that's gonna conclude this video. We've got a lot of great deals this week. Monster Hunter World for $36 with a GCU subscription is fantastic. You've got to check out Tales of Berseria at that price. And the downloadable deals are solid as well. DMC Devil May Cry for $13.99 is a solid pickup. Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus is a great JRPG. And Strider for just $3, can't go wrong with that. Sound off with your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.